Welcome to this Carlisle United Methodist Church Safe Sanctuaries and Mandated Reporter Training video, Part 1. Jesus loves children. He told his disciples, "Let the children come to me," Luke 18:16. He wanted them to share in his ministry. As Joy Melton expressed in her book, Safe Sanctuaries, today the church may be the only place where some children find the unconditional love and care they so desperately need to grow, to thrive, and to become faithful people. As Christians, we must take our responsibilities to our children very seriously, always attending to their spiritual growth and nurturing. This online training is for all church staff and volunteers who work with children and youth at Carlisle United Methodist Church. Thank you for your commitment to follow the words of Jesus, to love the little children, and doing all in your power to help protect and raise them to know Jesus and His love. Part of how we do that is with our Safe Sanctuaries policy and through these 3 online videos for training. After watching all 3 videos, you will be required to take the quiz that is located on the Safe Sanctuaries webpage. Let's begin with learning about what Safe Sanctuaries is and how it protects our children and youth. Our purpose for establishing this policy is to demonstrate our commitment to the physical and emotional safety and spiritual growth of all children, youth, and all adult workers and volunteers while in the building or on the grounds of Carlisle United Methodist Church, or while participating or serving in an off-site event or trip sponsored by Carlisle United Methodist Church. Within the Safe Sanctuaries document, our church makes 8 statements about what we pledge as part of our responsibility to care for the children and youth that participate in the ministries and programs of Carlisle United Methodist Church. We pledge that every event and every place children and youth gather, whether at the church or off-site as part of a church event, will be supervised. We pledge that children and youth will always be supervised by at least 2 adults. We pledge that we will require clearances every 5 years for church employees and volunteers in accordance with Pennsylvania state laws. We pledge that supervising adults must be members of Carlisle United Methodist Church 6 months prior to leadership. Adults who are attending or serving in a ministry and are not part of CUMC for 6 months can be a helper, but will not be counted as one of the 2 supervising adults. We pledge that volunteers and staff persons will be at least 18 years of age and at least 5 years older than the children or youth with whom they are working. We pledge that we will provide and require training for adults and staff. We pledge that we will require staff and volunteers to report suspected cases of child abuse to Pennsylvania Childline and Abuse Registry, the Cumberland County Children and Youth Agency, and the lead pastor. The form and procedure for such reports comply with the requirements of the state law. We pledge that all staff persons and volunteers who work with children and youth must sign the Safe Sanctuary Covenant Agreement. All volunteers who, as part of a regularly scheduled program, activity, or service, accept responsibility for a child or have direct contact with children and vulnerable adults shall be required to complete and provide the following before they are permitted to participate as an employee or volunteer working with children and youth. Pennsylvania Child Abuse History Clearance through the Pennsylvania Department of Public Welfare. Pennsylvania State Police Criminal Record Check. FBI Criminal History Report that requires fingerprints. If a volunteer has lived in the state of Pennsylvania consecutively for the last 10 years, a notarized affidavit is acceptable. The affidavit can be found in Appendix 6 of the Safe Sanctuaries policy. Our church secretary is a notary and will attest to your signature during regular church office hours. The affidavit is only acceptable for volunteers. Staff are required to do the FBI criminal history and fingerprinting. Signed Participation Covenant Agreement. The form is found in Appendix 1 of the Safe Sanctuaries policy. And complete the 3 parts of the online training regarding mandated reporting and the final quiz. To apply for the state clearances, please complete the steps on the Safe Sanctuaries website within the Carlisle United Methodist Church website. There are a few additional details we need to share beyond just getting your clearances. All adults who work with children and youth, whether for pay or as part of a regular volunteer position, are mandated reporters of child abuse. We will go more into what that means and how to report in Part 2. For all staff and volunteers, background checks must be repeated every 5 years. Copies of clearances obtained within the past 5 years from other sources, employment, volunteering at a local school, etc., will be accepted for those who volunteer. For staff, clearances must be obtained through the church for your employment due to how the clearances are processed by the state. There are other groups that meet inside the Carlisle United Methodist Church building, but are not a ministry of Carlisle United Methodist Church. For example, Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, and music therapy for children are some examples. For these organizations, our Safe Sanctuaries policy states that they are required to do clearances per state law, and that copies of the clearances should be kept within the organization. These groups must complete the Safe Sanctuaries Covenant Agreement for outside groups. They also are required to develop policies that are consistent with the requirements of the Carlisle United Methodist Safe Sanctuaries policies. Under our Safe Sanctuaries policy, one of the biggest concerns is how we supervise children and youth events and activities. Our minimum supervisory standards include the 2-adult rule. The 2-adult rule requires that no matter the size of the group, there will always be 2 unrelated adults present. An adult roamer who moves in and out of rooms shall only be used in the event of an emergency. The staff person or other person in charge will always make sure those in charge are 5 years older than the children or youth they are working with. Each room or space where children are being cared for or participating in a ministry will have a window in the door or the door will be left open. All activities should occur in open view. Should the children's activity be an outdoor program or occur in a setting which makes it difficult to comply with this policy, for example, a corn maze for the youth group or event at the local parks for children, the staff person in charge of the activity should take appropriate measures to make sure that the setting suits the activity and the children or youth are properly supervised. Advance notice must be given to parents or guardians prior to all activities that take place away from Carlisle United Methodist Church. Event-specific permission slips must be completed by parents or guardians prior to departure for all events that will exceed 4 hours or a radius of 30 miles from Carlisle United Methodist Church. Online communication is a critical tool for our ministries and used by our staff, members, and friends of Carlisle United Methodist Church. The constant evolution of ways to communicate, post, update, and share information provides areas of concern for our ministries with children and youth. We must assume anything and everything online is public information. Best practices for using online communication and technologies must be considered at all times. This is not an exhaustive list, but we share with you a few guidelines that help us protect our children, youth, and families with online and social media. We will obtain written parental or guardian permission before we communicate via email, Facebook, Instagram, etc. with children or youth, for posting photos of children and youth in church events and activities, and for using photos of children and youth in church publications and publicity. We will protect confidential information, which includes email addresses, phone numbers, etc., at all times, including online communications and postings. We will always invite parents to have full access to all emails, online groups, and areas when communicating with youth and children. As a church, the staff is responsible to monitor the social media sites of the church regularly. Volunteers or staff members should talk to their supervising staff member immediately if a comment is posted online by a staff person, church member, or friend that is not supportive of the ministry, the church, or persons involved in the ministry. Remember that there are always consequences to what you send, post, and publish. If you're about to send or publish something that makes you even the slightest bit uncomfortable, Review the suggestions above. If you're still unsure and it is related to church business, contact your supervisor or a pastor immediately. A few basic overall do's and don'ts when using social media. Do's: be polite, be courteous, be helpful, be conversational, be intelligent, and be transparent. Don't share secrets, curse, badmouth others, act disrespectfully, or defame. This is basic, but online it is surprising how many of these rules are broken consistently without thought to the consequences. Remember, everything you post online about your life and the ministries and people of Carlisle United Methodist Church is public knowledge. Please help us to do the best ministry possible in our building, in our community, and online. These are tips to always consider, no matter what type of social media you are using: Facebook, Instagram, posting to websites, even sharing with friends in an email. Remember, everything you share in print can, and often eventually, becomes public information. Obeying by these do's and don'ts always errs on the side of grace and Christian love. If you aren't sure about posting or writing anything, ask your supervisor. These are just the highlights of the Carlisle United Methodist Church Safe Sanctuaries policy that has been adopted by the Leadership Council and is regularly reviewed. Please take time to read the entire policy in detail so you are familiar with your role and responsibility as you volunteer. To complete the entire Safe Sanctuaries process, you will need to submit the result of the Pennsylvania State Police Criminal History Clearance, complete the Child Abuse Clearance paperwork, complete the FBI Criminal History or Affidavit. After reading the Safe Sanctuaries policy, print out and sign the Participation Covenant that is found online. Watch training videos 2 and 3 and complete the short quiz. For accuracy and record keeping, please complete all of the pieces and then return everything together to the staff person in charge of the ministry you are working within. If you have any questions along the way or need help with a step, please reach out to our staff. We understand this process can be overwhelming for some people, and we want to help you succeed so you can participate in ministry that changes lives in our church and community. This concludes the Carlisle United Methodist Church Safe Sanctuaries and Mandated Reporter Training video, Part 1. Please continue to Part 2.